Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Look here, y'all. Today, I'm going to be doing something that I've wanted to do for as long as I've had the podcast. I'm going to be interviewing a convicted sex offender. As you all know, my podcast is about deterring crime and helping the community be able to protect themselves from crime, protect their families from crime, and those individuals that are engaged in that lifestyle. This young man that I'm going to be talking to today is gracious enough to be doing this for me. He's open and honest about all aspects of his situation, and we're going to be respectful to all those that were impacted by the decision that he made. Now, with that said, this is not about trying to, for lack of a better term, castrate another human being. This is about trying to understand what happens in the mind of an individual that decides that they want to commit this type of crime. So I hope that all of you out there that listen to me on a daily basis, and those of you that drop in from time to time, I hope that you respect the boundaries of this particular interview and leave the type of comments that will help us grow, help us become a community that gets in front of this particular crime and those crimes that other people commit, right? This is about growth. This is about prevention. This is about healing. So with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, as I always say, and enjoy the show. First of all, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing good today.
Good. Now, during this interview, y'all, we're going to refer to this brother as Ed. We will not be using his last name. We will not be using the names of anybody else that may be involved in this particular situation. But we will get to the issues, right? And in this first episode, there's going to be multiple episodes for this whole series, y'all, so stay tuned. I want to talk about, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us whatever it is you want us to know about you right now before we get to it.
Okay. My name is Ed. I'm 67 years old. I committed my crime when I was 47, and so I've been down a little over 19 and a half years, and this January I'll be getting out and I will have done 20 years day for day.
20 years at 100%.
Yes, sir.
Dig that. And I've gotten to know you pretty well, I think. You appear to me to be somebody that's remorseful, regretful, and on the path to healing. Is that true?
Yes, that's very true.
That's true. Well, that's good. Before we get into the issue of the crime, I want to talk about your childhood, because I think a lot of people dismiss the aspects of our upbringing. You understand what I'm saying? Those of us that are in prison, incarcerated, they dismiss a lot of those aspects of our upbringing in factoring in, you know what I'm saying, what it is that we might do on the other side of the law. So what was your childhood like? Where were you born and raised? Well, not where you were born and raised, but in the sense of like a hometown or whatever. But tell me what your childhood was like.
I had probably a different childhood. My mother was a severe alcoholic, and my father, I hear, was an alcoholic, but I don't remember seeing him ever drunk. But he did have depression. And when I was in the third grade, which was about 10 years old, my father committed suicide. And then after that, of course, my mother even her alcoholism got worse, and she pretty much went straight into the bottle. And for about, I'd say maybe 8 months or so, I guess, I don't really know the time frame, but my younger sister and I, like at nighttime, she would drink herself into a stupor, and we would have to get her up out of her chair and take her to bed.
Right.
That kind of a thing.
That's how you child.
Yeah, and one of my first memories that I have of my mother was we had gone to Arkansas to visit some relatives, and I was outside playing on the swing set with some other kids. I must have been 5 or 6 years old, I think. And my mother came out, I guess, to check on us. And when she did, while she was out there, she was, so intoxicated she fell and she couldn't get up. So the adults had to come outside and help get her up and take her inside. So, yeah.
So tell me how your father committing suicide and your mother being a severe alcoholic, from the way you described it, how did that affect you? Did you understand that? Did it affect you in any kind of way? I'm going to put it like that.
I would think the main reason how it affected me, and it was because of the family situation, is I pretty much just withheld everything inside. Nobody ever came to talk about it. It was just quiet, and you just didn't talk about it, that kind of a thing.
Nobody talked about it?
Nobody at all through that. And then after my mother died, my oldest sister was not married yet. So because of that, and I'm not even sure of the reasons, but the reason, because like I say, we never talked. And and it was a lot of dysfunction, but also it might have been a lot on my part too, because I didn't know what to do. But anyway.
Hold on. In all fairness, you were a child. So
yes, I was a child.
Would you know what to do?
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do.
But again, tell me, did your behavior change in any way after your father committed suicide?
Not after my father committed suicide. I would say, if anything, after my mother, because...
After your mother passed?
Right. Well, because I was the one, my older sister had told me to go wake her up to come to dinner that night. And when I did, she wouldn't wake up. So, of course, I went back to her and told her that, she won't wake up. So she went and checked on her. And then after whatever was going on, she ushered my younger sister and I into one of the back bedrooms. And then, of course, I guess the ambulance came and all that kind of stuff. And while this was going on, we had gotten a phone afterwards for a little while. We had gotten a phone call, and there was an extension back there. So I decided I would pick up the phone and listen, kind of what's going on. So I did, and I had heard somebody say that our mother had passed away. And that kind of affected me more than any. And I felt like I was maybe a little bit more aware of the world then. Yeah.
How old were you then?
I was 10, either 10 or 11.
Your mom passed away?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you notice a change in your behavior? Did anybody ever tell you that your behavior changed after your mom passed away?
No, I don't think it didn't really come out, because like I said, that was the 3rd grade. It didn't really come out until the 6th grade, because that year I had a really hard time and I flunked the 6th grade.
Right.
Because of behavior and stuff like that.
Right.
And I think that's when it really came out. But like I said, after my mother passed away, there was supposedly, I think, some family that wanted to adopt us, but they wouldn't let them. I had an aunt, a great aunt who was a nun, who I guess was in charge of everything. And she wouldn't let them adopt us, from what I hear, because they weren't Catholic. And so my younger sister and I went to an orphanage, but nobody ever sat down and said why, what was going on, or nothing. Through all this.
An orphanage?
Yes. So my younger sister and I spent a year in an orphanage.
Wow. What was your older sister?
She was busy getting ready to get married and that kind of a stuff.
Okay.
So and they would come and visit. My brother-in-law and her would come visit they would come visit us every weekend, and then like once a month we could go spend the weekend with them.
Okay, I didn't know that. You never mentioned that. That makes me think. I want to ask you this question. If you don't feel comfortable answering it, that's okay.
Okay.
So you spent a year in an orphanage.
Yes.
Were you separated from your sister?
Yes, we were. There was a female side and a male side.
What was that like for you?
It didn't. From what I remember back to it didn't really. Affect me that much that I know of. Because they kept us busy. There was a big yard there. We were always doing something. I went to the 4th grade there, and what's so strange is I don't remember at all anything about going to school at all there. But that's either here or there.
Did you have any fights while you were there?
I did. I had one with a guy named, I can even remember his name, Arthur. And we fought, and then afterwards, of course, became the best of friends.
Yeah, but the reason I say that because I've heard a lot of stories about kids being abused in orphanages. And so I was just wondering, did you face...
No, I didn't face that, but one thing that did happen was there was some guy there, I don't know who it was, and we kind of fooled around a little bit in a sexual way once or twice.
Okay. So how old were you then?
I would have been 10, 11 probably.
10 or 11 years old?
I'd probably 11.
Okay. So did you know that, well, okay, let me ask you like this. You say you fooled around with this guy. What made you want to do that? Did you know that you were?
No, I didn't know really what. I didn't really know what was going on. I think from what I can remember, I mean, he just asked about something, and then we just did it.
Yeah.
But I had no clue of what was going on, really. Yeah.
He was older than you or the same age as you?
I would say around the same age as me, I think.
So how did that impact you after you did that? And was it just that one time?
It was either once or twice at the very most. I don't remember it really affecting me anyway. I mean,
did anybody know about it?
No. From what I remember, it was done outside in the yard, and anybody could have seen. But nobody ever said anything. Yeah, nobody ever said.
Well, nobody ever said anything.
Yeah.
You don't know if anybody saw it.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said anything. Okay, that's interesting. So you don't think that had any effect on you?
Oh, it did. It did later on, yes.
Okay, at the time.
At the time, it didn't, but later on, I would think so.
What was
Right.
And it was changing, but later on, it did.
Right.
You said when you were an adult. Okay, we'll get into that. Okay, let me ask you this. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and now you're grown. You're an adult. What was your life like as a young adult?
I think it was good.
In your 20s.
In my 20s, I was lucky because once my older sister was married and then they assumed responsibility for my younger sister and I, it was like a normal childhood like anybody else. I mean, we were never really want of anything, and it was, typical, probably middle class upbringing. So, and then I went, graduated high school. The one thing though, I was very lucky, in high school was that I got to be a ball boy for a pro team for 4 years. And that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
And then after high school, I went to college for a couple of years, and then I wasn't doing anything with it. So I decided and got a job at a record store. And then after that, things really started kind of changing.
What do you mean?
Because I'd been working there at the store for about 3 or 4 months, and the regional manager approached me one day and said, "Hey, you want to move to another city to help open up a record store?" And I was like, "Well, shoot, yeah. Where do I sign up?"
Right.
And then we left, and I came up here and helped open a record store. And that was the first time I'd really been on my own that much. I had been on my own once before with a friend. We rented a house, and it turned out that there was a gas leak, and we were lucky we didn't get blown up. So I wound up moving back home, and then until this opportunity.
Okay. So you said that, let me go back real quick just to make sure I got this right. When you were at the orphanage, you had these brief encounters, right? 2 at the most with this guy.
Right.
When you got older, did that continue?
Well, as a matter of fact,
was that your first sexual encounter?
Yes.
Ever?
Yes.
That was your first? Okay. So when you got older, were you attracted to women as well?
Yes.
During the time you helped open the record store or whatever, did you have a girlfriend? Or?
No, I didn't date much in high school because I was scared that they would say no. And so I didn't have but about 1 or 2 dates in high school.
Okay. But you never had any more encounters?
No.
With men?
No.
Okay. Fast forward for me then into when you say as an adult it started to affect you, right?
Well, because once I moved up and moved away from home.
And I'm hammering down on this because I have a theory, and I'm pushing towards that. I want to know.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we're fine.
So you are. Go ahead.
Okay. What I was gonna say is that once I moved out on my own and got up here, and a friend of mine and I rented a townhouse and was living there while I was working at the record store. And one night, of course, this all this involved, and I had started smoking pot and drinking beer.
Drugs
and
come into play.
Yes. And one night I had pretty much drank myself into a stupor. And then sometime later on that night, I woke up and there was a man in my bed. And I have no idea how in the
How
world
he
he
got
got,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
And
You
I
don't know if
proceeded to,
y'all-
and I
you don't
proceeded
know
to
if
tell
you
him to
did
leave, please.
anything. You don't know if you did anything or not. You were
Yeah,
blacked out basically
right,
from the alcohol.
right, right.
Okay. So did you have a lot of blackouts?
A few times, yeah, yeah.
Okay. You told me that once before we were talking. You told me that you were in the military.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What branch?
I was in the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Retired, right?
Retired 20 years.
Okay. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I want to set the stage for this next episode. So now you're in the military. You retired.
Yeah, I was married. I got married.
When did you get married?
I got married right after, let's see, after I moved up to the record store. I'd been there almost a year, and it was in '77.
Okay.
And we met and was married in 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
What was she like? Why were you so attracted to this woman in 3 months that she had to be an amazing woman?
Well, yeah, she was, or she is, I should say. It's a combination of things with me. It's usually looks plus personality and how we get along.
Right.
And we hit it right off, like doing the same things. We were partying a lot. Of course, we were, in our early 20s and that kind of a thing.
Kicking it at that point.
Yeah. And working in a record store and that kind of a thing. And so we just all fell into place.
All of that.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have any kids?
We have one son, but he wasn't born until almost 20 years into our marriage.
Oh, okay. So life, you and her was good.
Right.
It was good.
Right. And so far as so far as the sexual thing with the man, what I had done with it was I had just filed it in the back of my head as like a one-off and just kind of compartmentalized it away.
Right. This is not me.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to start to get a little bit more in depth with this interview, and I want to see how far you can go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how much we're going to talk about. I want to get into the aspects of, and I'm jumping a lot. And if you need to go back and forth, that's fine with me.
Okay.
But I want to get to the crime.
Okay.
I don't want you to mention anything about their name or anything like that.
Okay.
But I do want to talk about some specifics. So you're retired at this point.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, you're retired, living pretty good.
Yes.
Tell me how this came about. How did the circumstances of you committing this crime come about?
Well, there was a family of a single mother and her daughter that had moved in a couple of doors down from us.
In the neighborhood, okay.
And she was the same age as my son, and so they hung out and played a lot together.
Which was how old?
7.
7 years old. Go ahead.
And her mother worked a lot, and being a single mother was, had a lot of stuff to do. Well, her and Jackson got along. So well.
I mean, I understand. Don't worry. Like I said, we a lot of these names.
Yeah. Anyway, they got along so well, and so she started staying over at the house more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then her mother had even asked if she could stay because it would help her be able to work more. And they got along so well, so we said okay.
Okay. And so she stayed overnight.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is what I want to get into, but what I'm gonna do, for those of you listening, y'all know how I am. I ain't gonna give it to you like this. You're gonna have to tune into the next episode so you can hear how this came about. Again, I want you to pay attention to these episodes because I want you to learn something. This is something that I think that we can prevent in a lot of situations if we pay attention to some of the things that are going on right in front of our eyes, right? And that's what I'm hoping to reveal in these interviews. So I want you to make sure you tune into the next episode. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.